Welcome to today's explainer. If you've ever played an RPG, a role-playing video game, you know that your character's success isn't just about how much gold they're carrying around in their inventory, right? It's all about their stats, their health, their intelligence, their stamina. Well, believe it or not, nations are exactly the same way. But for the longest time, economists were essentially just counting a nation's gold. So today we're going to decode the ultimate health card of a nation. We're looking at how to measure a country's true progress by treating it exactly like a character's stat sheet. And this brings us to the ultimate question. If per capita income, which, remember, is literally just the average income of the people in a given year, if that only looks at wallet size, how do we measure a country's actual quality of life? Think about it for a second. Just dividing the national income by the population? That tells us the coin count, but it tells us absolutely nothing about the actual human beings living there.
So to answer that, here are the levels we're going to clear in today's explainer. Number 1, the limits of per capita income. 2, the Human Development Index explained. 3, the 3 pillars of development. 4, calculating the HDI score. And finally, number 5, quality versus quantity.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, Limits of Per Capita Income, the coin count.
Okay, so using a simple wallet check has some massive blind spots. First off, it totally ignores income distribution. Like, the average income might rise just because the rich are getting richer, while poverty is actually growing. Crazy, right? Second, it completely ignores environmental destruction. A country can artificially boost its output by heavily polluting its own resources. Third, it completely excludes non-economic welfare. Think about the massive amount of unpaid caregiving and housework that goes on every single day, totally uncounted. And finally, if a country boosts its GDP by mass-producing weapons, armaments, instead of civilian goods, well, their income looks great on paper, but actual human welfare hasn't improved at all.
Moving on to Section 2, Human Development Index explained.
Enter the Human Development Index, or HDI. This is essentially the ultimate upgraded stat sheet. It was created by the UNDP, and instead of just spitting out a dollar amount, it actually provides a single index measure between 0 and 1, and it captures 3 totally different, beautiful dimensions of human existence: a long and healthy life, access to knowledge, and a decent standard of living. It's a total game changer because it shifts the entire focus from just hoarding money to comprehensive human welfare.
All right, Section 3, 3 pillars of development.
So here is your nation's new stat sheet. To get our final HDI score, we first construct individual indices for 3 main components. First up is health, which is measured by the Life Expectancy Indicator, or LEI. This looks at life expectancy at birth. Basically, how many years is a newly born baby expected to live? High years mean great health infrastructure. Next up is knowledge, measured by the Educational Attainment Indicator. And finally, the standard of living. This uses real GDP per capita, also known as adjusted GDP. It divides the GDP at constant prices by the total population, just to see if people actually have a decent material standard of living. Let's actually look a little closer at that middle pillar for a second, knowledge, or the Educational Attainment Indicator. The UNDP evaluates this by looking at multiple generations, which is super smart. For the youth, they look at the expected years of schooling, but for the older generation, they look at the average years of schooling. It also factors in the adult literacy rate, specifically the percentage of people aged 15 and above who can read and write a simple statement in everyday life. All of this alongside the gross enrollment ratio across primary, secondary, and university levels. So it really is an incredibly thorough check on a population's actual access to knowledge. Okay, Section 4. Calculating the HDI score. Let's crack the algorithm behind this game's scoring system. The standard formula used by the UNDP actually works in 3 really simple steps. Step 1. The UNDP fixes a global maximum and a minimum benchmark value for each specific indicator for a particular year. Step 2, we take a country's actual value and we subtract that minimum value. And step 3, we divide that result by the difference between the maximum and minimum values. And here is exactly what that looks like as a mathematical formula. Achievement level equals the actual value minus the minimum value, all divided by the maximum value minus the minimum value. Now, the absolutely crucial point here is that this formula perfectly captures a country's progress relative to global benchmarks. It literally tells you exactly where a country sits on the scale, from the worst possible outcome to the best possible outcome. Let's make this crystal clear and ground it in reality with an exact example. Imagine a country where the actual life expectancy at birth is 65 years. The UNDP comes in and they set the global maximum benchmark for life expectancy at 80 years and the absolute minimum at 20 years.
Watch how smoothly these numbers just slide right into our equation. Our life expectancy indicator equals 65 minus 20 on the top, which gives us 45. And on the bottom, 80 minus 20 gives us 60. So we're left with 45 divided by 60. Boom, 45 divided by 60 equals 0.75. That means that country gets a score of 0.75 for its health pillar. And to get the final HDI score for the entire nation, well, we simply repeat this exact same mathematical step for the knowledge pillar, and then again for the standard of living pillar. Then you just take the simple arithmetic average of all three individual scores, and there you have it, the final Human Development Index.
Section 5. Quality versus quantity. And this brilliantly illustrates the entire shift in modern economic thinking. You see, per capita income is purely quantitative. It just asks how much, without caring at all about pollution or inequality or unpaid labor. But the Human Development Index, it emphasizes the qualitative aspects of development. It asks how well. Are people living long, healthy lives? Do they actually have access to education? It's a much more robust, honest reflection of a nation's true welfare.
So, I'm going to leave you with this. Now that you understand how a nation's ultimate stat sheet is actually calculated, take a look at your own country. Out of health, knowledge, and standard of living, which pillar does your country need to focus on leveling up the most next year? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning the numbers behind the world around you.